Thank you, Chairman Capito, for having this second round of questions. I appreciate it. And Congressman Zeldin, presuming that you get confirmed to be the EPA administrator, you're going to have to work to reestablish the credibility, reestablish the trust for the EPA, and that's going to involve a process of transparency and good faith action on the EPA's part. Part of what I expect you to bring back is accountability. President Biden's EPA had a $41.5 billion with a B program to carry out EV mandates and environmental justice. How many additional dollars went to the Inspector General's office to conduct oversight over those IRA funds that went out? Zero, none. Yeah, that's a problem when you're spending that kind of dollars. Can we have your commitment that you will look into this to make sure those dollars were spent appropriately, that the process was followed properly for all those dollars, and to make sure that any dollars that were not spent appropriately, in fact, Senator Capito and I actually had a press conference on how some of these dollars were being distributed, but if they weren't being distributed, you'll work to claw back those taxpayer dollars?
Yes, Senator.
Great, thank you. We talked a little bit earlier also about the EV mandate. Part of what this IRA dollars we're supposed to be pushing is this EV mandate. Of the 147 communities in my state that are classified as cities, 99 of them don't have a single EV charger. If you're living in communities like Bloomfield, Alliance, Valentine, you're 45 minutes from the nearest charging station. And in my state, EV adoption is like 2%, when nationally it's about 7%. And of course, the current mandate that the EPA is pursuing with their emission standards was to have 2/3 of all new vehicles being sold as EVs in the year 2032. That's just clearly not realistic. And again, as we discussed, we should allow American innovation to be able to help us reduce the impact on the environment, not have the administration pick one solution that they want to push. Do you commit to rolling back these out-of-touch mandates that are costly to Americans and dangerous to our energy grid, increase our reliance on our adversaries like the People's Republic of China?
Senator, it is my obligation, if confirmed, to be following my obligations under the law. And with regards to the Administrative Procedures Act, rules, laws set out that guide the way I answer that question. I'm not allowed to prejudge outcomes going into rulemaking to ensure that there is durability of any decision to be made at the end of the process, where my answer to that question could potentially be used against any type of a rule regulation that is made. I will tell you that I have heard concerns from you and many others in this chamber of how important it is to look at rules that are currently on the books. I don't sit before you with any type of announcement I'm able to make of any rules that are going to change upon confirmation. I will tell you that I will not prejudge outcomes. However, it is my commitment to follow my obligations under the laws set by Congress, to look at laws, decisions that have been made by the United States Supreme Court, and to make sure that we are pursuing common sense, pragmatic solutions that make sense to you, that you can defend when going back to the constituents that you fight so hard for from your home state. So I look forward to the opportunity of being able to make you proud, being able to make this entire committee, the chairman, proud in hitting the ground running to do my part so that the EPA is being accountable to you as a senator and is accountable to your constituents as taxpayers and as Americans.
Right. Well, thank you, Congressman Zeldin. One of the things we also talked about was certainty. We talked about it in the context of the RVOs. But there's another area of certainty that we've talked about, and we need to continue to talk about. The Supreme Court's Sackett versus the EPA decision was a clear directive to narrow the scope of the federal jurisdiction on the Clean Waters Act. And here's just one of the things that just drives me nuts, because this has not just been a Biden administration. This happened under the Obama administration. The Clean Water Act over 50 times says navigable waters. Navigable waters means you can put a boat on it and go someplace. That's the Merriam-Webster definition in really broad terms. Clearly out of scope of what the Congress's intent was. And the decision in Sackett was intended to provide clarity to producers. President Biden's WOTUS revisions have only confused it by talking about things like relatively permanent waters or unclear determinations on which waters are actually jurisdictional under law. Farmers and ranchers in Nebraska deserve better than an EPA taking years to decide the best way to regulate a ditch that might someday hold water. Do you plan on providing clear and durable waters of the U.S. guidance to producers as an administrator?
Senator, I believe that it's incredibly important for the EPA to provide clear and durable guidance as it relates to waters of the U.S. The Sackett decision is easy to understand for any of those property owners in your state, yet still they have questions as it relates to the rules and regulations that are on the books. It should be as clear as possible so that your people can understand without having to go hire an attorney or someone else to assist them with compliance and definitions.
Great. Well, again, I would just remind you that the Clean Water Act says navigable waters. It's a pretty plain English definition. Congress's intent could not have been more clear. And so I just remind you as you're going through that process to keep that in mind.
Thank you,
Thank you very much, Congressman Zeldin.
Thank you.